You're standing alone on a beach, sword in hand. The sun is rising, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and red. The waves crash rhythmically against the shore. You close your eyes, take a deep breath, and prepare your mind for battle. This is how Miyamoto Musashi, the greatest swordsman in Japanese history, started each day. But Musashi's teachings weren't just about wielding a blade. They were a blueprint for mastering the mind, overcoming adversity, and living with purpose. Musashi once said, "There is nothing outside of yourself that can ever enable you to get better, stronger, richer, quicker, or smarter. Everything is within. Everything exists. Seek nothing outside of yourself." In a world that often tells us we need the latest gadget, a bigger paycheck, or more likes on social media to feel fulfilled, Musashi's words are a powerful reminder that true strength and contentment come from within. So what can we, living in the modern world, learn from a samurai who lived over 400 years ago? As it turns out, quite a lot. Musashi's principles, captured in his famous work, The Book of Five Rings, are as relevant today as they were in feudal Japan. His teachings on discipline, resilience, focus, and strategy can help us navigate the challenges we face, whether we're in the boardroom or the living room. In this video, we'll explore some of Musashi's most profound insights and see how we can apply them to our own lives. We'll learn how to cultivate an undefeated mind, one that stays calm and focused even in the face of adversity. We'll discover the power of living in the present moment and accepting things as they are, and we'll see how committing ourselves fully to our chosen path can lead to extraordinary results. Principle 1. Accept everything just the way it is. One of Musashi's most powerful teachings is the idea of accepting things as they are. He wrote, "Accept everything just the way it is." This doesn't mean being passive or resigned to your fate. Rather, it's about having the clarity to see things objectively, without the distortions of our own biases and judgments. When we resist reality, we create suffering for ourselves. But when we accept it, we open the door to effective action. Imagine you've been working on an important project for months. You've poured your heart and soul into it. But then your supervisor tells you the project is being scrapped. It's natural to feel frustrated, even angry. But those emotional reactions won't change the situation. Accepting it, on the other hand, allows you to shift your focus to what you can control, perhaps finding a way to repurpose your work or learning from the experience to be more effective in the future. Principle 2. Do not seek pleasure for its own sake. In a culture that often glorifies instant gratification and hedonism, Musashi's advice to avoid seeking pleasure for its own sake may seem counterintuitive. But his point is that when we make pleasure our primary goal, we become slaves to our desires and lose sight of what's truly important. The ancient Greek philosopher Epicurus, often misunderstood as advocating for a life of indulgence, actually taught that the key to happiness is living simply and moderately. He said, "Not what we have, but what we enjoy constitutes our abundance." This doesn't mean that we should never enjoy pleasurable experiences, but it does suggest being intentional about our pursuits and not letting our desire for pleasure control us. For example, there's nothing wrong with enjoying a delicious meal or watching a favorite TV show to unwind after a long day. But if we constantly overeat or binge watch to the detriment of our health, relationships, and responsibilities, then we've lost sight of what matters. Living with purpose and moderation, as both Musashi and Epicurus advise, allows us to appreciate life's joys without becoming dependent on them. Principle 3. Do not, under any circumstances, depend on a partial feeling. Musashi warns against relying on partial feeling, in other words, making decisions based on incomplete information or biased perceptions. In the heat of battle, a samurai could not afford to act on assumptions or hunches. They needed to see clearly, assess the situation accurately, and respond decisively. The same is true for us in our daily lives. How often do we jump to conclusions without all the facts? How often do we let our emotions cloud our judgment? Musashi's teaching reminds us to pause, gather information, and think critically before acting. The famous scientist and philosopher Galileo Galilei once said, "All truths are easy to understand once they are discovered. The point is to discover them." By resisting the temptation to depend on partial feeling, we give ourselves the opportunity to uncover the truth and make wiser choices. For instance, imagine you get an email from a coworker that seems terse and even a bit rude. It's tempting to fire off an angry response or assume the person has a problem with you. But what if there's more to the story? Maybe the coworker is dealing with a personal crisis or was simply in a rush when they wrote the email. By gathering more information and considering alternative explanations, you can respond more thoughtfully and avoid unnecessary conflict. Principle 4. Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. Musashi advises us to think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. This isn't about self-deprecation or low self-esteem. Rather, it's a call to humility and a reminder that we are all part of something larger than ourselves. When we are preoccupied with our own egos, we limit our perspective and miss opportunities to learn and grow. But when we approach the world with curiosity and openness, we expand our horizons and tap into a deeper sense of purpose. The renowned astrophysicist Carl Sagan put it beautifully: the Earth is a very small stage in a vast cosmic arena. Think of the rivers of blood spilled by all those generals and emperors so that in glory and triumph they could become the momentary masters of a fraction of a dot. By thinking deeply of the world, we realize that our individual concerns and triumphs are just a small part of a much grander tapestry. This not only puts our problems in perspective, but also inspires us to contribute to something meaningful. For example, you might be stressed about a looming deadline at work or a disagreement with a friend. In the grand scheme of things, these challenges may seem insignificant. But by thinking deeply of the world, you can reframe them as opportunities to practice patience, empathy, and problem-solving, skills that can make a real difference in your community and beyond. Principle 5. Be detached from desire your whole life long. Musashi's final principle is perhaps his most challenging: to be detached from desire. This doesn't mean living a joyless existence or suppressing our wants and needs. Instead, it's about not being controlled by our desires and being able to let go when necessary. The Buddha taught that attachment is the root of suffering. When we cling too tightly to people, possessions, or outcomes, we set ourselves up for disappointment and pain. But when we learn to desire without attachment, we can pursue our goals with vigor and passion while still maintaining inner peace. Imagine you've applied for your dream job. You've done your research, tailored your resume, and nailed the interview. You want this job more than anything. But if you become too attached to the outcome, you risk being devastated if you don't get it. By practicing detachment, you can give your all to the pursuit while also accepting that the ultimate result is beyond your control. This allows you to maintain perspective and bounce back more quickly if things don't go as planned. Conclusion. Miyamoto Musashi's teachings are not just about swordsmanship or strategy. They are a guide to living with clarity, resilience, and purpose. By accepting reality, avoiding short-sighted pleasure-seeking, seeing things objectively, staying humble, and letting go of unhealthy attachments, we can develop an undefeated mind and navigate life's challenges with grace and wisdom. But knowledge alone is not enough. As Musashi himself said, you must understand that there is more than one path to the top of the mountain. It's up to each of us to put these principles into practice in our own unique way, and to keep learning and growing throughout our lives. So as we come to the end of this video, I invite you to reflect on how you can apply Musashi's teachings to your own life. What obstacles are you facing that require an undefeated mind? How can you practice acceptance, moderation, objectivity, humility, and detachment in your daily interactions? Remember, the path of mastery is not easy, but it is worthwhile. By committing ourselves to the way of the warrior philosopher, we can rise to meet life's challenges and leave a positive mark on the world. If you found value in this video, please hit the like button and share it with someone who could benefit from Musashi's wisdom. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel for more content designed to help you live your best life. Together, let us take up Musashi's mantle and become the masters of our own minds and destinies. As he said, once you understand the way broadly, you can see it in all things. May we all find the way and walk it with courage, compassion, and an indomitable spirit.